Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, the Lakers have won 5 of their last 6 games after losing 3 games in a row. 2 of those losses coming in heartbreaking fashion, with 2 basic game winners. Orlando, Phoenix basically being game winning shots against us. Felt like the sky was falling. Uh, I would say it felt like the sky was falling even for me because I was like, these are not games that we should lose, but somehow we managed to lose them. But then after that, the Lakers turn around and rip off wins against a very bad Warriors team. They blow them out up 30. Then they blow out the Sacramento Kings at home, up 30 again in that game. Then they played the New Orleans Pelicans, feisty team, not really as bad as their record indicates. They're just a bad team record wise, but they try. A closer game. We win that by 10, about 9-10 to give us 3 in a row. And then the marquee showdown against the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray does that thing he does where he decides to go nuclear in the first half of the game and then kind of doesn't do much in the second half. Lakers play a really good game against Jokic. Jokic was like 8 turnovers that game, somehow still managed to have a triple-double. That game came down to like the last minute and 30 seconds of the game, I would say, Raj. Maybe I would say single possession game. Lakers are not able to close it out. They make a comeback both in that Phoenix loss and this Denver game. Furious comeback off the strength of like just Luka kind of going crazy, especially that Phoenix game. We lose that game. Then we play Indiana, another team that people thought was a trap, end up blowing them out. Oh, Denver game, LeBron ends up getting hurt. DeAndre Ayton leaves the game because he has a knee issue early in that Denver game. Probably would have helped us having another big body there. But we end up blowing out Indiana, and then DeAndre Ayton returns against the Knicks. LeBron is still out as he's nursing his elbow from the end of that Denver game. And the Lakers get a high-quality win against the New York Knicks at home for us to respond with a 5 out of 6 games winning streak after that 3-game winning streak. That's all that's happened since the last time I think you and I potted.
Wow.
We won't get into like, obviously we're going to hit on all the different themes, but before that, we always have to check in. How are you doing, my friend? What's the vibes coming out of crypto right now?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't think we spoke since I've traveled to San Francisco, went on the road, kind of, it was cool to kind of get the vibe in there. But I think the vibes are good. It was a tough loss against, I think Boston was kind of that first test. And then Denver was like, all right, here's test number 2. Taking a class and they're like, all right, the first class comes up. All right, but you can kind of make it up with the second test. Second test is coming in. We're almost, you can kind of quibble with how close they actually were in that game. I'd argue they were pretty close. I'm not sure the 2 Marcus Smart threes are the ones I'd like to see down the stretch, but in any case, that game was lost there. And then they had this Knicks test, which everyone's like, all right, here's another one on the platter. Here's another test, able to pass that one. And I think that had a lot of interesting storylines to it because obviously all 3 of them weren't available for it. But Vinay, the Lakers are back in a 3-seed hunt once again. The basketball gods have once again opened this door. If they'd like to walk through it, they play Minnesota tomorrow and then Denver on Saturday. So that's a very much control your destiny type of week.
Yes.
And we'll see where they go from there. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, where the team's at. You mentioned Luke Kennard. I think his addition has been really nice. But they're in this spot now where, all right, you got all these good teams coming up. You got to kind of win some of those. Where are you at?
I am happy that we've strung together a bunch of wins. Beating the Knicks was definitely one of those things where I felt like, especially with it being an ESPN game, I was just like, bro, I really hope we win this game because I don't want to hear, ESPN people be like, oh, they just can't beat. And again, it's a fair thing. I just hate it when like other people say it and it's not Laker fans because you just kind of know the way they're saying it. Like the way we say it is like, oh, the Lakers, like we're a good team. We're not OKC good, but we're a good team. But that's me as a Lakers fan saying it. But when other people say it, it's like, well, the Lakers are kind of a good team, but they kind of are not a good team. And it's just like, God, when you say it, I just don't like hearing it. But when we say it, I'm okay with it. So I'm happy that we won those games. Like you said, we're right back in the hunt. Houston has managed to lose games. They're also a team that's been flawed. I know Denver lost today to basically a game winner against Shea. They've been playing them down to the wire, but those games have been tough. Denver's dropped games to teams that I'm sure their fans would feel like they shouldn't drop games to. And so I'm not shocked that we're in the hunt. It feels like this is just what it's been, Raj. Like it's been like we're
Yeah.
always constantly in the mix for this 3 seed and to 6 seed sort of thing. And it could be towards the end of the season. A late winning streak or a late losing streak could really decide your fate when it comes to seeding. So honestly, I've just been kind of, I'll be honest, this past week, I've been just kind of like, "Hmm, yeah, that's cool." Like I expected us to beat Indiana and the Kings and the Warriors and all those
Mhm.
teams.
Mhm.
I'm happy we beat the Knicks, but like these are now what's kind of happening in my mind. You tell me if this is happening with you. What's happening in my mind is like, okay, we're beating the teams I expect to beat now. Like, and we're losing or really struggling with the teams I expect to struggle with. I just don't know. I'm at like this weird purgatory right now where I'm like, are we going to take that drastic measure? And we'll talk about what that drastic measure might be. But are we going to take that drastic measure to really say, this works, this doesn't work? We have to stop doing what doesn't work and we have to start doing what does work. And this is going to lead into what a later topic that we'll discuss. But that's kind of like where I'm at. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure they have time for that. Like you have I said after the Denver game, I would have loved that game to happen like 40 games ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you can kind of build off that game. You can see what works, what doesn't, what you're kind of describing, what to remove, what not, where to lean into. But it's like 18, 19 games left. That's just
Hmm.
not enough time to change the ramp that you're on. You know what I mean? You've kind of picked this ramp that you're on and you kind of have to see it through, I would say. And that may be frustrating for the players, for whoever, for coaches, for whatever they're putting out there. But I don't know. I just don't see a different direction that they're gonna go in terms of changing course. Do think there's stuff they can edit and kind of improve on. And I think that's what we'll talk about. What I wanted to kind of base around this, Vinay, I mentioned the records. You're saying like you've kind of stepped back and went, okay, this is kind of who we are. Are we going to, I guess, take the next, put the gas on changing as a team? Do you see us in the Minnesota, Denver tier, Houston tier in terms of the records are identical, but do you put us in their tier, or is there like I guess a is there a difference between us and those teams in terms
No,
of what? Yeah.
I think we're in that tier. Like
Okay.
and I'm this is not even me being homer. Like I think Houston has legitimate flaws that can be exposed with their lack of shooting ability. They're like a great rebounding team, a great athletic team. They're really good. Like Amen Thompson's a monster in transition by himself. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. But I think like all those teams are flawed to some degree. Like Houston has huge clutch like late game scoring issues when they double Kevin. That's an issue for the rest of that team. Shingun can be up and down when it comes to it. Denver, again, we keep playing them right down to the wire. Like all these games are always coming down to the wire. And like it's small stretches, small stints with lineups that are deciding some of those games. I think that's one of those things. I think we're in that category. I think we play these teams. People are gonna be like, well, you lost 4-1 to Minnesota, and that one was like whatever. It was like a gentleman's sweep. But it's just like some of those games were close. They weren't like. It's always tough when people use that playoff argument because we spent all of the regular season talking about, oh, you guys are efficient at this, you're efficient at that. Well, in playoff basketball, nobody cares anymore. I don't care about your
Right.
efficiency anymore in playoff basketball. I need you to just win the game. You can shoot 2 for 80, but if you're doing everything else that's helping me like win the game, rebounding, defense, all that stuff, I don't care what the shooting was and stuff like that. So um, I think we're in that mode now where Candace's team, I don't look at them in terms of like just what their statistical ranks are. I look at them now as like, can we do the things that we need to do to win a game in a series, win 4 games in a series? And so I think some of those teams have strengths, some of them have weaknesses, just like the Lakers do.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to good way to put it. I just think I'm going crazy when I look at the standing and I see how like the team is covered in like a general
Yeah,
sense, like
you've been on this, dude. You've been on
the
this pretty
whole.
consistently.
Well, I mean, the story today was, are the Lakers better without LeBron James? It's like, yeah, that's a route you can go. Like that's definitely a
Yeah.
that stats can kind of tell you that if you want it to, right? You can
Yeah.
look at the Lakers numbers and their record without LeBron. But I think actually the interesting part is all right, the Lakers beat the Knicks without LeBron James healthy, a healthy Knicks team. You can put some fraudulent you can sprinkle some fraudulence on the Knicks if you want to, but I think they're a good
I
I
saw
think
that. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think they're a solid Eastern team. They just blew out the Nuggets on the road, right? I remember after that game, people were like, "Oh, the Knicks have arrived,"
Yeah.
right? The Lakers just lost to this team. They blew them out by 40. And the Lakers win. It's like, oh, yeah, there's some fraudulent activity going on in New York. Okay. I just find that interesting. So shout out, I see Shell in the chat. It was good meeting you,
Yeah.
meeting you and your wife at the game. That was cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And
Great people.
shout out to our guy George. 1 year as in the detailers club. It's been a year, 12 months.
Wow.
Time
Year
flies.
flew by.
Yeah.
Flew by.
Um, so the coverage of the team, I know this has been something that's been I tweeted about it, and a lot of people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, oh, we don't understand why this happened. And I got some people in my mentions like, it's because Luca's on the team, or it's because it's the Lakers jersey, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, look, I'm sure it's a culmination of all these sort of things when it comes to the way the Lakers are covered. I think for me, like the most bizarre thing was like, why were Laker fans agreeing with the national media? Sometimes I was just like, you guys watch the team, you guys know they're better than what they're saying about them. But it is what it is. It happens. But I don't like we're 1-1 against the Nuggets. We're gonna play them again. We're gonna play the Rockets again. Like we're gonna play against a couple of these teams again, and you'll get a chance to see whether this team is a real team or not. Like, and if we're serious about what it is, and like I said, Roger, like I'm not measuring it, and you tell me where I'll ask you this question. Like at this point, like I'm honestly not measuring this team based on like, oh, what was their defensive rating? Like
Mm,
the remaining 18 games or whatever we have is not unless you have an like incredible outlier, like all of a sudden we become the best defensive team in the league over the next 20 games, it's not going to really change where you're at. My thing is, are we doing the small things? At some point, does somebody go to the rest of the roster and say, hey, can we start doing the small things? Can y'all go grab contested rebounds? Can you go battle with the other guy? Can you attack the rim when it's an open closeout? Can you swing the ball when we need you? Can you get back in transition? That sort of stuff. I will say this Knicks game was a great example of what that the kind of stuff that we need regularly from this team in order for us to win. So even though we were shorthanded without LeBron, I thought that was a big deal. Like the Knicks are a team that will embarrass you. They'll go out of their way to embarrass you with the effort that they play with, and I thought the Lakers did a really good job matching that.
I, I thought so too. I thought Rui smart. Laravia didn't shoot well, but I thought he was kind of involved in this. But yeah, I thought that was the most I've seen Luca. I guess coordinating on
Hmm.
defense, communicating, telling guys where to go. There's a play where I don't remember who the teammate was, but Landry Shamet got a layup, and he went at the teammate. He was like, "Hey, that's your rotation. Like you're supposed to be there."
Hmm.
I thought that was one of his best, just kind of defensive leadership games. And again, yeah, I mean the Knicks missed some open shots. That the Lakers missed some open shots too. But I mean, Mikal Bridges was held scoreless. I thought their job on Brunson and Cat was a really good defensive game plan.
Hmm.
I didn't think Brunson was able to really hunt anybody. And we were playing, I mean, Austin, Luke Kennard, Luka Doncic, all were playing in that game. I didn't think Brunson really got downhill, got to the rim, didn't get to the free throw line.
Hmm.
Like I thought our game plan was pretty solid all night. You're right, guys like OG Anunoby will embarrass you if your effort's not there. He'll be
Hmm.
go and get 5, 6 offensive rebounds. I thought everything was kind of clicking, at least from the defensive side. Offensively, again, I thought Luka was he took 16 threes in that one.
That's a
Had
lot.
some
Yeah.
moments, yeah, had some moments of brilliance. Austin Reaves had his best offensive game in a while. I think that's a good segue, Vinay. Austin Reaves had his best offensive game in a very long time.
Yeah. Since
Um,
he's come back from injury,
since he's
easily.
come back from injury,
Actually,
he
since
did
the
have the
Clippers game, like what was it the
yes,
first game back was the Clippers game. So yeah.
that was the one. Yeah, had
Yeah.
29 against the Clippers. I think on the road against the Warriors, he would have had more, but the Lakers were up by so much it really didn't
Yes.
matter. They were up like 20 or 25 pretty early on a terrible Warriors team.
Hmm.
Um, But yeah, Austin had his best game. Thought he was consistently aggressive. He was driving. Also had the ball in his hands quite a bit, Vinay. So I'm gonna throw this lob right back to you. What'd you see from Austin against the Knicks that I guess got him going? I will say he got fouled on a 3 right away, and it gave me like Jamal Murray kind of, you know, deja vu or nightmares, however you want to put it. If you remember against Denver, Renee, the first play, Jamal Murray gets fouled on a three.
Yeah.
I think by Austin. I don't remember. Oh no, was it Austin or Smart? I don't remember who fouled him.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray hits 3 free throws, and I knew right away, oh, this is gonna suck. Because he came back down, hit a three, I think hit another three. He had 9 of I think their first 11 or 13. But Austin gets fouled on 3, hits 2 or 3 free throws, but I thought that kick started the game for him. But what did you see?
Yeah. I think there is a real conversation. Oh, okay. So first and foremost, Austin has been weirdly. You and I have had this conversation offline. There has been this weird deferral mode that Austin has been going into when he gets the ball in his hands, and I didn't see that in the New York game. I think I've seen that up until the New York game and the Indiana game, but it certainly was not there in this Knicks game because he didn't have the opportunity. There's nobody else to go to if Luka
Right.
wasn't on the floor. So Austin has to be that guy, and so. I'm using the word deferral because that's the only way I can describe it right now. The way I'm going to describe it's going to get a little combative. So I'm going to describe it that way for right now. But I think Austin has been he hasn't been aggressive. And JJ saying before the Knicks game, saying that Austin hasn't been aggressive the way he was at the start of the season, and we need to get him back to that point is that's quite literally what my observation's been. Like there has been a sincere lack of aggression from Austin. Now I'm not going to guess as to what it is with him that's causing it, but I'm going to share you a stat, which is a stat that's been abused by different factions within the Lakers fan base to make cases for different people. So I'm going to share this stat with you game by game since Austin has come back to help you to illustrate what I think might be happening, but not saying that this is the sole reason why. So let's say like the 8 games before Austin got hurt, right? Austin's usage rate. The metric I'm going to give you is his usage rate. His usage rate was something like this. It was 33%, 38%, 38%, 30%, 30%, 30%, 22%, 25%, 30%, 40%, that sort of thing. Since Austin has come back, the first one being the Clippers game, his usage rate was 24%. Now, this is what his usage rate has been since the Clippers game. 20%, 24%, 20%, 18%, 22%, 25%, 19%, 33% against Indiana, 24% against the Knicks. So I'm not doing it slowly, but if you heard me say those numbers, you're starting to hopefully you understand what the point I'm trying to make. Whether Austin's being deferral or not, that's one part of the behavioral. That's a behavioral tenet of when we evaluate players. That is, what is he doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? That's one thing that sometimes we can't really understand. But when you and I watch tape, we're trying to figure it out as we watch it. But when we look at the analytical tenet, when we look at what's the data telling me as it relates to what I'm watching, well, what it's telling me is that Austin's not really not being utilized. His usage isn't at the same rate that it was before. Now, the moment I say usage rate, people start getting very defensive. They don't like that being thrown out because now they're looking around to see, well, who's taking that away from him, right? And that's not what I'm doing here. The conversation I want to ask you, Raj, is you watch Austin very consistently throughout his entire career. You watch Austin before, you watch Austin after his injury. I gave you some usage data. I think there is a rhythm issue with Austin, and the rhythm issue is occurring because he is trying to defer. He is trying to be the guy that is the off-ball good soldier. I'm not going to step on your toes. Luka, you do your thing. Braun, you do your thing. I'll be the good guy and not step on. But I think what's happening is it's coming at the cost of not only his stats, which is whatever, who cares? Let's just say we don't care about that right now. We know how good he is. But I think it's actually coming at the cost of him being in rhythm for our end game scenarios. And I think that hurts the Lakers in these situations because he's not getting any rhythm built. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think there's been a considerable drop. He didn't score 20 for 8 straight games, I think, and a lot of people put that on, oh, well, is he just not the player we thought he was? You know what I mean? And even though you have a full season's worth of data. You've seen kind of what he's done, when he's not with two of them next to two of them. Um, I do think there's some rhythm issue. I think some of this also is on Austin getting going. I think the other two have, I think LeBron and Luca have both kind of decided when it's their turn to take over. And look, Vinay, there also has to be someone that plays the playmaking role. And I
Mhm.
think that's where Austin kind of gets into trouble with his own offensive game. He kind of plays the passer role. We've talked extensively how he's kind of the one that feeds DeAndre Ayton,
Mhm.
right? Ayton did not take a mid-range shot in the month of February. Austin Reaves missed a lot of time in February. I think those two things are a little bit, those are combined. I think that's not a coincidence. But I do think there's a place for him to be more aggressive. It's just tough when you share the ball with three people. It's impossible. It's just
Yeah.
it's bound to happen where one of them aren't going. And I think Austin's the one that has kind of sacrificed the most. I think his game changes the most when all three of them play. Now there's an interesting conversation of, should the backcourt be the one that has the ball the most, and your 6'10" dominant physical force wing be the guy that's the one that kind of adjusts towards that? I think that's an interesting combo. But for now, yeah, I think it's gonna be tough. I'm sure if you ask Austin, he would kind of agree with you. I think he'd say, look, I'm not in offensive rhythm. I take 8 shots by the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
How am I getting going? How am I getting shots? I'm not getting to the line like I usually do, so I'm not in a rhythm there. Um, I'm not getting the calls that I used to. That's part of it, but I'm with you. I think there's a balance of sharing the basketball that they haven't found, and
Yeah.
Luca and LeBron have a physical advantage that I think makes it easier for them to, I guess, adjust and take over in a way that I think Austin has to kind of rev himself up for, that he doesn't really get to. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I see it.
Yeah. So for me, the way I think of rhythm when in basketball is it's a ramp up into the end game sequence. Like you have to start from point zero and ramp yourself all the way
Mhm,
up. And I think one of the things that one of the things that is happening is that the Lakers are decisively choosing who they're going to ramp up first.
mhm,
And I do think that it's changed from time to time, but there's been this weird trend that's happening where the Lakers kind of go a little heavy for that first 6 minutes. For certain games, they'll let Braun take, like the Orlando game, just Braun go ahead and shoot it. Like you take the matchup, you go ahead and shoot it. I want to say there was another game where that happened too as well. It's escaping me, but like it'll be very drastic. Like Braun will shoot the ball, LeBron will shoot the ball like 10 times, like in the first half. And then the
mhm.
second half, he'll hardly shoot the ball. Like he's not looking to be aggressive or anything like that. And it's almost like it switches. Like all of a sudden, Austin in the third quarter is the one taking all those shots. And he's like, it seems like it's like they're splitting the halves in terms of like how involved they are with the offense. And a couple of games, it's been really discreet. Like Braun will he'll shoot like just as I'm saying, he'll shoot like 9 times in the first half or 10 times in the first half, and then he shoots like 5 times in the second half. And then
Yeah,
Austin will shoot like 6 times in the first half, and then he'll shoot like 12 times in the second half. And the defense isn't really doing anything much different. Like they're not like doubling LeBron to get rid of him. And so like the reason I'm bringing that observation up, my observation up, is because that I don't think that's going to work, Raj. Like I don't
mm,
think the way they're trying to carve up these possessions, because look, first things first, Luca doesn't care who's on the floor with him. If he's got it going, he's shooting the ball, dude. Like he doesn't care. So I don't include him in these conversations because this is like he's just gonna do whatever the f he wants. It doesn't even matter. LeBron and Austin could be on the floor. If he's got it going, he's shooting the ball. He doesn't care. So I,
sure.
I always keep him to the side when it comes to these conversations. But the way they're trying to figure out, I think the Lakers are trying to figure out how to balance Austin and LeBron if they are actively looking at those conversations. I think that's not working out the way that they've wanted it to. And obviously, I don't know how you work that out, but I do think that is part of what the issue is. Is that a fair observation?
I think it is, but let's detail closer into this. So you said you put Luca to the side, but you really can't, right? Like, yeah,
Fair.
I understand you put him to the side in terms of you don't have to worry about him getting an offensive rhythm because he's going to be no matter what,
Mhm.
right? I love the questions when people are like, "Hey, why like, did you shoot this shot in the second quarter? It's like, again, it's like asking a fish, why did you swim upstream? It's like, what do you like? Because I thought it was going in. What do you mean? Why did I shoot that? Right? Like, why
I
did I
don't shoot
take
shots to miss them.
right? It's like, why'd you take a step back contested three? Because it was open. Like, so I love like the conversations around it. But I think it's interesting when you think about how does an offensive player stay in rhythm next to a guy like that? I think that's a
Yeah.
very interesting combo. I'm not sure that's all on Luca. I'm sure that's also on the players next to him as well. But I do think that's interesting because you're right. Like, yeah, Luca's gonna be in his offensive rhythm, but the ceiling of this team kind of lives on all three of them being in offensive rhythm. But like you did, Luca, I'm put LeBron to the side as well for now. I think Austin's the one that obviously I think he has the least amount of experience as a
Mhm.
full-time offensive engine. And so I do think there's a level of like he's got to get it going in a way. Again, I think those two just don't from a pure size kind of place. They have more size and physicality that they can kind of lean on. I think Austin leans on being in a rhythm with his jumper, in a pull-up jump shot rhythm, in a getting to the free throw line and kind of getting that going where he's kind of in a downhill attack mode. I think that's tougher to do when you get the ball two or three times, in terms of where he's getting it. But yeah, next to Luca, who I just mentioned shot 16 threes against the New York Knicks. Uh, how does a guy like Austin, because I think he did against the Knicks, what did you see in that game specifically you think that kept him in an offensive rhythm?
I think Austin going early in the shot clock and looking to get downhill more, obviously like utilizing Aiton, utilizing Maxi,
Yeah.
utilizing Jackson for screens and just getting more. It's like so when I talk about like the rhythm building, part of the rhythm building is at least I drove like 4 times in the first quarter. So now I have a feel of how they're going to defend me, how what spots they're going to leave me open. They might leave me open, how they've been defending me. So even if I go 0 for 3 on 4 of those drives, if I shot the ball or whatever it was, like I know that the next time I come out in the shift and I drive again, I know what I can do to adjust to what it is. That's harder to do when everything becomes limited. When that number comes down. Like there's there's like a probing part of
Hmm.
basketball for ball handlers, and it's part of like what the probing part is like you have to see how the defense reacts. Like I can't guess how the defense like reacts. I have to actually do something, see how they react, so then I know how to adjust to it, and then eventually just kind of hurt them in the long run. And so that's why like he doesn't get those opportunities. Or he doesn't take. Some people say he doesn't take those opportunities. I would argue because of who he's playing with, he probably doesn't want to, or not. He doesn't
Mm.
want to. Like he's probably like, no, maybe just make the right play here and just run the set or whatever it is, that sort of thing. But in reality, is if you need him to get going, and if you believe that the ceiling of this team is significantly higher if he's in rhythm, then somehow that has to be prioritized. Like I'll give
Mm.
you an example. I'll make it very simple, Raj. I feel like we run more stuff for Luke Kennard than we run for Austin Reeves right now. Like it seems like there's a focus on getting Kennard better, like pick and roll ball handling looks and giving him the opportunity to get shots up and stuff like that. Then and even bringing it up the floor than Austin has since the All Star break, which is weird to me because it's just like why? Like why wouldn't Luke just get or why wouldn't Austin get those looks? So there is some of that. Now, again, you use the word sacrifice. It does come at the sacrifice of other players. Like if Austin's doing it, that means Luca's not doing it or LeBron's not doing it. So how does rhythm affect them? Which brings me to a larger question, Raj, that I've wanted to ask. It's maybe it's not a question to ask, but just a thought that I think people, Laker fans, should have, and that is, in theory, Austin and LeBron and Luca, but for the sake of this conversation, Austin and LeBron are in theory should be capable of being off-ball players.
Mhm.
You can LeBron maybe a little bit less this year because that three ball hasn't been going down. If it uptakes, then great, then he's amazing. He's still a tremendous passer as a short goal guy, mid post. Austin, we know he can pass. We know he can shoot. In theory, they should be. really good off ball players. But in practice, we haven't quite seen that to the level of effectiveness that we would have hoped it would be at. And I think
Yeah.
that's causing an issue. When I say issue, I think it's I mean it in the sense of like I think it's a little bit of an obstacle that they haven't been able to get over. It's a hump they haven't been able to get over. No, neither one of Austin nor LeBron has truly turned into like this low usage, high
Yeah.
impact offensive off ball guy. And I think that's complicated this a little bit more. Um, what do you think about that? Like that theory versus practice thing?
Yeah, it's funny. If you remember in the summer, the kind of conversation was, "Hey, well, watch Luca in Slovenia. He's going off the ball. He's running off screens for threes. Like, is there some off-ball play coming for the team this year?" And that has not materialized.
Hmm.
I'm with you. It creates duplicative skill sets. It's just you have three guys that I think want to do similar things now. Can they do it in different ways? LeBron can attack from the post, Luca can attack from the post, but I think overall they all three want to kind of hold the ball and survey and and do things that on ball scores as they should do, right? And I think all three of them are good enough at it that you can look at your offense and go, okay, it's your turn to do this now. It's your turn to do this now. Now it's your turn to do this now. And Luca, in the RPG game, he gets way more turns than anyone else. But
Yeah,
in any case, it's still a turn-based system, which I'm with you, has a very low ceiling, right? I would argue even a low floor
I agree.
to your offensive game when you go that route. But you look at all three of those guys, and all three of them can look in the mirror and go, "Hey, I'm the best score for this moment." And whenever that comes, it comes. If that goes in the second quarter, third quarter, I think that's what's been interesting. I thought the Denver game was kind of the best I've seen from all three of them
Hmm.
picking their spots while still being threats together. Where at the end of the game, I thought all three of them were threats in a way. Obviously, again, it led to two Marcus Smart threes, but in
Hmm.
any case, I thought that was one of the best kind of games that they played. But yeah, it's tough. And then when, I think that affects the defensive side as well in terms of what, the duplicative skill sets that you have with also duplicative weaknesses where they have kind of similar weaknesses. LeBron in a different kind of tier because of his age, but nonetheless, there's some defensive kind of concerns with it. But just offensively, yeah, I think I said before the season, I believe here that, one of them needed to be a connective tissue piece. And I'm not sure any one of them have taken that on, right? Like I think LeBron does it in spurts
Yeah,
in
that's
big
what I was gonna say
games.
in spurts. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's understandable. 41 years old, you can't really ask him to go play like Aaron Gordon, or whatever, OG Anunoby or whatever of these wings that just are high motor, high salary wings. That's not fair to a 41-year-old, but that's kind of the role that was necessary, especially when you start next to DeAndre Ayton, who's also slow. And I think we've been higher on Ayton than most, but still a very slow footed big that has his
Hmm.
defensive warts. Also wants touches in a way that hasn't been filled, I think, this season, but it's a conversation for another day.
Hmm.
But I think for those three, one of them needed to be a connective piece. And, it's very easy to say, yeah, Luca's not going to be that, which is true. Then
Hmm.
that falls on the shoulders of Austin and LeBron. And my argument has always been LeBron's the 6'10 behemoth. Like he's the most versatile one out of all of them. He's, I thought, the one that would have to do that. But I think the age comes to factor here. So I don't know where we go, Vinay, from here. I'm just gonna keep looking at the offensive ratings for those three, and
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be like, "Yeah, they're terrible." Like, okay, I'm not sure what we do with that. Then, if those three together are offensively terrible against good teams, we'll see against Minnesota tomorrow if LeBron plays or not. I'd love to get another rep in terms of that, but
Yeah.
for now, I'm with you.
Another team where we'll get to the next topic, but yeah, go. I don't want to break your trying to train of
No, no,
thought.
no. I was gonna say like it's another team that's gonna test those three. A
Hmm.
lot of switchable defenders, not a lot of. I thought the Knicks was strangely a good, not a good matchup, but Vinay, they give you a lot of entry points. Like
Yeah.
Brunson and Shamit are two clear entry points on offense, where Luca and Austin can kind of get the JJ calls it the blender. You get it the blender going.
Hmm.
Minnesota does not have as many of those type of guys. They start, I think no, I forgot who they exit, but Anthony Edwards is gonna be out there. Jaden McDaniels will be out there. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is at the center position. But You'll see against a big physical team. We'll see how they play. But those three better figure it out because it can't be this turn-based offense if they wanna do anything. Where are you at
Yeah.
with it?
Yeah, so I was gonna say that Minnesota conversation is a very good conversation. That matchup is a team that knocked us out before. We are 2-0 against Minnesota too as well.
Yep.
We've had a win with Luca playing spectacular. I think he had like 49-point triple double, near triple double or something like that. He absolutely blasted him. And then we had that big win where Austin kind of took over. He went
Game winner.
crazy without Luca, and he had a game winner. So we have those two games. So again, this will be a third matchup. We'll see if Braun plays. I don't know if he's on the injury report, but or if he's a game time decision. But that'll be another interesting matchup. But again, every time the Lakers win a game without LeBron, this always becomes a conversation. Are the Lakers better off without LeBron? I think there's a micro conversation that can happen with that, and I think there's a macro conversation that can happen with that. For the macro conversation, we can't do anything right now, Raj. Like, as in, for the Laker fans saying, "Oh, they're better than they're better." We're not waiving LeBron. We're not buying him
Yeah.
out. He's not like there's no like dishonorable exit that's happening for him. Like the Lakers are going to figure out how to play basketball with LeBron until the season's over. So people can continue to gripe and complain about it as much as they want if they genuinely feel that way. But in a macro sense, you got to figure it out. I think we said this like maybe a month or two ago when people were like, "Oh, you should do this less and do this more." I was like, "No, like he's gonna play. He's gonna play 35 minutes. Like you have to figure out how to figure it out. That's JJ's job." But there's a micro conversation that happens every time the Lakers win without LeBron. ESPN reported today that the Lakers are 9-2. Luca and Austin are 9-2 when LeBron doesn't play. Obviously, there's always context. What team did you play? Were they bottom feeding teams? Were they injured teams? All that sort of stuff. I'm sure Brown FC is gonna make sure all the context is available. Same way it would be when Austin was out. Same way it would be when Luca was out. Totally fine. Not arguing any which way. But the real conversation I want to have is about lineups, which is the Lakers fan base and their sub factions. The conversation that every week turns into this tug of war that we discuss. And so I want to discuss the lineup with you and have a micro macro conversation, whichever direction you want to take it, about these lineups, which is the starting lineup with Rui instead of LeBron is a plus 20 net rating. Plus 20. That's 90th percentile, not for the Lakers, in the entire league, in the entire NBA. One of the best lineups, 5-man lineups in the NBA. Mind you, this is also with DeAndre Ayton in the lineup too as well. They are a 120 on offense, which is a little above average on offense, which makes sense. But they are extremely good, 90th percentile on defense. They have 100 defensive rating. That same exact lineup with LeBron instead of Rui is a plus 2.7. It was originally negative, but now has gotten better because LeBron has gotten better since January. So he is a big part of influencing that lineup data. But that lineup is a 110 on offense, so worse offense, and they're a 107 on defense. So better, but not like as 107 versus 100. 100 is super elite. 107 is probably like what I would expect it to be, even with Rui. So maybe we're playing a little above our heads when it comes to that. Raj, why is that? Why do you think that number is what it is?
Yeah, what's funny, just context around the 9-2, because that's been thrown around. That's when Luca and Austin play and LeBron sits. So LeBron's missed more than 11 games this season. That has coincided with one of Luca and AR also missing, right? So one of them have played by themselves. So that's where that 9-2 record is. When Austin and Luca play and LeBron sits, the Lakers are 9-2, which is still, I mean, that's a pretty strong record against a very extremely small sample size. Rui's not better than LeBron. Jake Reaves is not better than LeBron. You can go down the list of forwards. I do think there is something about putting a tryhard in that unit that has a low need for touches. Like if you were just to build Vinay, let's move forward 4 months and we're building a team that is around Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, which I think the team is going to do. I think for all intents and purposes, everything that's been said, Lakers are building a team around Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, save for X other superstar becomes available. We know who those names are. But in any case, if you're building forget center spot, because I think that's been clearly identified through this year.
Mhm.
If you want a wing next to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, there's a couple different factors you're checking for. I'm not sure ball handling's on that list.
Nope.
I'm not sure playmaking's on that list. I'm
Nope.
not sure. Again, these aren't attacks at these skill sets. We're fitting this around these
What do
two
you
guards.
need? What do I need out of that player? Yeah.
Yes. So ball handling, I don't really need,
Mhm.
right? Because the 4 that's starting right now has no ball handling.
Mhm.
Don't really need playmaking out of that list. Rui has not gotten an assist that he purposely wanted at any time. In any case, post up ability is really not on that list very
Yeah.
much. Like it's nice to be able to, take advantage of some switches, but that's not really on my list of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a guy that can catch and shoot. I'm looking at that can cut. I'm looking for an athlete.
Mhm.
I'm looking for a high motor, right? That's probably my list. Like defensive capabilities, be able to
Mhm.
switch, have very few of those qualities are a 41-year-old LeBron James. And like
Mhm.
that doesn't mean LeBron is better than all those other players combined, talent wise, still
Mhm.
is, averages 28 a game, whatever it is. But I think that's the reason you're seeing this. Something that I thought of, Vinay, was kind of like, remember when so Kevin Durant and Devin Booker was this pairing that was supposed to be the most beautiful offensive pairing ever, right?
Mhm.
Like you're putting Kevin freaking Durant next to Devin Booker, who at the time just had a final, led a team to the finals, was awesome.
Mhm.
I know you want to give Chris Paul no credit for that, so this works in here. Devin Booker was amazing in that run. Did have a point guard with him, but in any case, we won't name him right now. And that team was terrible. That fit was pretty bad. Now there was
Mhm.
other reasonings for that. The team around them weren't perfectly slotted in terms of what's needed around those two. They put Chris Paul next to those two, which as much again as Vinay does not like Chris Paul was still an amazing point guard at that time. And that's just not the player they needed around those two. And I'm not comparing any of those guys to the team on the Lakers now, but I think from a fit perspective, I think that's why the numbers are what they are, even though the talent drop
Mhm.
is what it is. And you look at a team like Phoenix that's winning this season that lost KD. They lost who they also sent Jalen Green. They lost Jalen Green
Mhm.
as well in the trade. And they've been no, Houston lost Jalen Green. Excuse me, they got Jalen Green, but he has not played this year. Has not really mattered. But in any case, yeah, I think there's a fit thing that has helped. But again, you have to contextualize this that they're not better than LeBron. Team's not better than LeBron James. Yada yada. But I think there's a fit part of this that has kind of excelled even when the talent's out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word that the fit description that you're making is the right description. I don't think anybody in a vacuum would argue that Braun doesn't help the Lakers. I think the educated conversation or the fair conversation is what that starting unit needs out of that position. Is that something that we can expect? Is it obviously there's a conversation whether it's fair to expect him to do it because of his age and whatnot, who he is, but it's also are we getting that out of LeBron, right? Like there is no doubt in my mind that if LeBron really wanted to be this low touch, just I'm only going to score in transition and take open threes, blah blah blah, like he would do that. Like he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who would not do that. But again, he's an older guy. Like it, I watched that Denver game. Like he was one of the only reasons we were in that game in
Oh
transition was
yeah.
because he was single handedly carrying the Lakers in transition off of great defensive plays. Like we would get Luca would get a steal, immediately advance it to LeBron. LeBron would have had his team going down the court for a layup. So like that happened multiple times in the second half. So like the point I'm trying to make is you could tell he was exhausted. Like a lot of people were upset at the end of that Denver game that Braun gave that ball up to he made the pass or made the right read or whatever to Marcus Smart twice. I would imagine they would argue, Braun fans would argue. Um, but again, he might have also been tired. Like he was doing a lot in transition. It's not like they were calling fouls for him; they were beating him up, that sort of thing. And so I think there is a fair conversation when we actually discuss why one lineup is better than the other lineup. It is because Rui doesn't command the ball. He's not out there.
Oof.
You're not running sets for Rui. You're not running that pick and that mismatch pick and roll, that post, that pick and post up or whatever is what I call it. You call it, it's 88 action or whatever,
88.
but like they don't run that for Rui. Like that, at no point do they run that for Rui. It's Rui
Never.
go rebound, Rui go play defense, Rui go run to that left corner or that right corner or wherever you're supposed to be, or Rui come screen for me, and you'll get the ball when you get it. But when you get it, you better shoot it or you better attack. And so when the instructions are super simple and he can just focus on, when I get the ball is when I have to attack and I have to make sure I do this other stuff, just focus on doing this other stuff. That's very different compared to, hey, I've got to get LeBron in rhythm. Like we've got to find him touches. Like we got to, like he hasn't touched the ball for like 5 possessions. You're not doing that with Rui. With Rui, you're like, go get my rebound, dude. Like, and we'll figure it out from there. And so again, this is not to say, I think you've said it too. Like this is not to compare the one to the other. And this
Right.
is also in theory not to say that one is not capable of doing it. Like LeBron's not capable of doing it. I just don't know if that's going to happen now. Like they were, like you said, 18 games into the season. Maybe it happens in the playoffs. We'll see what happens. But like, I don't know if it's reasonable to expect him to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a role he's kind of played. Like I know in Miami, he was like this defensive dynamo. Like he was amazing, like unbelievable all over the court.
Right.
But again, it's just where that's a 20-something-year-old LeBron versus a 41-year-old
Yeah.
LeBron. He'll have moments where he gets the chase down block or he makes a really great play. But I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to do it consistently all throughout the game. In the way like an OG Anunoby would do it or a Draymond Green would do it. So it's, there's a lot of, the reason I brought up the lineup thing is because there's been a lot of fighting about that all season long. And I'm not going to act like I haven't shared the lineup data. I've shared the lineup data too as well, because I want to see what conclusions people come to. And the conclusion I've come to is that what they need out of that position, what the starting group needs out of that specific position, that alternate wing position to Luka, it has to be a more defensive, rebounding oriented, low touch on the offense sort of guy. And for some reason, when that player is there in that spot, in this case it's Rui, it seems to make everything easier for everybody else. And it's not to say LeBron doesn't make life easier for the rest of the guys, but there's just, it's just when I'm watching it, it looks different. The data is telling me that something different is happening when he's on the floor. And so that's the
Do you
way
think it
I chalk it up. So
do you
I'll give you your thought. You give
well
me your thoughts.
well, do you think it clears up the hierarchy a little bit?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
for
it
sure. For sure. Yeah. The
Okay.
conversation that we had before about Austin and LeBron not kind of figuring out like what their rhythm is going to be like. I think that's automatically figured out. I think it's either Luca has the ball or Austin has the ball. The rest of you guys space out and go and wait for them to, make their reads and give you the ball accordingly. Like it feels like when I watch the Knicks game, again, it's just one game, so I'm not extrapolating too much from just one game, but from the other games I've also seen them play, it seems like Marcus and Rui are much more like, hey, we know what we have to do to help Luca and Austin be successful in this lineup. And we'll get our shots when we get them. But if we do these things, the shots will come to us. The ball will move to us when we're open and we're able to do the things that we do.
Yeah.
And I would say that for Ayton too as well. I think Ayton, he's been boy, that ESPN article did him no favors because he's been brutal to watch. And it's not just the article, he's been rough himself, but that he opens that Knicks game with great defense
It was awesome.
and some
Yeah.
great rebound. There was a rebound I remember I watched before he got subbed out. There's an offensive rebound that's going to the Knicks. 2 Knicks players are on that ball, and Ayton just jumps in and stripes it like right over the top of both of them and starts the fast break. And I was just like, I hope we continue to get that kind of effort from him
Yeah.
because I think he's capable. But go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up Aiden because like Aiden, I don't think Aiden's had the year that he wanted. Um, I it's funny because I brought up how I just make the argument, Vinay. I was like, hey, if you bring in DeAndre Ayton, you know who you're getting. Like
Yeah.
this, you know what I mean? Like this, it's very clear this is a guy that expected some amount of offensive involvement that he's not receiving.
Yeah.
Did not take a mid-range shot in the month of February. When the conversation this summer, Vinay, was this guy takes too many mid-range shots. Like, can he not take a mid-range shot in the month of February, which to me tells me the amount of touches he's getting. Like, I'm not caping for Ayton. He's a grown man that I think has not played up to par.
Yeah.
Someone shared with me a quote from preseason where he's like, well, I just came here to defensive rebound. And I'm like, if you believe that, like if you believe DeAndre Ayton came in to have no offensive role, like I don't know how you believe that in
Yep.
any
But
case.
also, this is like one of those things where it's just like, you know how like Laker fans right now, there's this thing that's going on with Laker fans with Luke Kennard, where like when he doesn't shoot it, Laker fans get really pissed when he's
Yeah,
like wide
yeah,
open.
yeah,
Like you're like, yo, that's why we got you, dude. Like shoot the ball, bro. Like
yeah,
that's why we
yeah,
got you. But likewise, it's the same thing with Aiden. Like he's not he's not a grunt. Like he plays like a grunt, but he's not
mm,
like just some guy who has got no offensive skill whatsoever. Where you
yeah,
can't like if you're having a 5 for 12 shooting night, you can't give it to him to
right.
punish your mismatch. Like you brought him here, use him. Like why not use him for that purpose? And so go ahead, finish
Yeah,
your thought.
that's been my point, and I'm sure Aiden looks at it. Look, my guard shot 24 threes tonight.
Yeah,
Maybe 4 of them were open. Can I get a couple mismatch post ups? Right?
yeah,
People are like, oh, he should just run up and down anyway. It's like that's not how the world works. That's not how basketball. Shaq had to ask for the ball.
yeah,
Shaq, like prime Shaq, had to
yeah,
tell Robert Ory, "Give me the effing ball."
yeah.
Like this is how big man guard relationships are. My point with Aiden was that is a thankless job. That right there, Aiden, no matter how well he plays, I asked JJ last night about Jackson Hayes' defense, and he straight up told me Jackson Hayes is our best rim protector, which to me tells me Jackson Hayes is going to close a lot of games. Jackson Hayes, he's already closing a
Hmm,
lot of games. He's going to continue to close a lot of games. My
hmm.
point is not that Aiden should be happy or accept that. My point is that this is a thankless job that we're asking. Like, go rebound, block shots, and screen.
Yeah.
And no matter how the screen is defended, you're like the shot's probably not coming to you for it, right? Because
Bro, there were some alley oops that Luca threw to Aiden, and I was just like, oh, did he want to throw those alley oops, or was he gonna shoot that? And he just was like, he's open, let me pass it to him. Because for one, there was like one of them where Luca went up for the floater, and then last minute he saw Aiden kind of break away from behind the center, and then he kind of flipped it over to Aiden, and I was just like, I don't think you want to pass that ball to him.
but
But
so I think Luca passes like last resort in a way
oh my
where
god, yeah,
it's
I haven't thought
not
of this for Fisher though. Yeah,
yeah, but it's not like it's not a conscious decision like I don't want to give my big man the ball.
yeah,
It's like I have this floater right here. Oh, it's actually more contested than I thought. And this is where and I think this is where Jackson's got really good, and
yeah,
I give him credit. His timing on these have been impeccable because he'll read that pretty well. He goes,
yeah,
"Oh, Luca's actually gonna hit me here. Let me get on the trampoline."
yeah.
Vinay, Aiden doesn't have a trampoline.
No.
Like he can't get on a trampoline. Like it takes him a second to load his jump,
Yeah.
right? And so like on some of those, he's like, "Are you serious right now?" Like like I'm boxing out already, bud. Like that pass, that
Yeah.
boat that ship has sailed. But yeah, it's a thankless job. And so like the job that we're asking, I don't know if you had a thought on that you wanted to kind of continue from
No,
Aiden.
you finish it because this is definitely going to be a tangent. So you finish it.
Okay, okay.
It'll be
Yeah,
related, but a
so
little bit of a tangent.
okay, what I was gonna say was what we're asking for LeBron is to go do a thankless
Yeah.
job, right? Go be a high motor four that does all this other stuff. And then the tough part, Vinay, is actually when the games really get tight,
Yeah.
turn back into LeBron James. And
Yeah.
like that to me is an impossible ask. And it's why I think we'll never see this like
Yeah.
at least this season. I don't think that's coming. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this Luca thing is I've been trying to figure out why there's a disconnect, right? We talked about like the style of passes, the kind of passes that Luca likes to throw, and then like the kind of passes that like Aiton likes to receive, and why Luca likes lob bigs versus bigs who have like skill, like slip, you can slip passes and stuff like that. And I thought there was a technical issue. I thought, well, I'm not a technical issue with Luca, but like like a behavioral tenant. I thought there's a behavioral issue with Luca in which he doesn't like to throw. He can throw slip passes, but he doesn't like to throw slip passes. Whereas Austin, because he's a smaller player, he can get to those angles. Luca's a bigger guy. He's 6'9", so he's getting defended by bigger dudes in general. So he might not be able to get those. This is why he prefers to throw it over the top. Okay. Luca plays the game of cat and mouse in the pick and roll with the big man all the way up until the point where he can wait until right before the shot releases before he gives the alley oop up to his
Right.
teammate. So The reason why I said this clicked in my brain, finally clicked in my brain, was because there was an account on Twitter that I followed, Luca Updates, that shared a slow mo of somebody else of Luca finishing a play where he passes it to Vando against Indiana. Luca drives by TJ McConnell. It's a pick and roll
Okay.
play,
Okay.
and Siakam is defending. So Luca is driving to the rim, all the way to the rim, has the ball up like this in his hands. But the entire time he's waiting to see if Siakam is going to contest. He's waiting to see if Siakam commits to the contest. As soon as Siakam like goes to contest, he like he's already 2 steps ahead. He's already grabbed the ball with his other hand, and he turns and he slips it in between two guys, TJ McConnell and Siakam,
Mm.
on the drive midair, and he gives it to Vando. Vando naturally doesn't take the shot, but gives it to Drew Timmy, who makes the floater
Floats it
anyways,
in. Yeah.
crashing it. The reason why I bring that up is because it struck me on a behavioral level, the behavioral thing that I watch. So there are times when we watch Luka drive to the rim and then he doesn't take the shot. It looks like he's baiting for the foul. And it
Mm.
looks like he's just trying to get the guy to jump, and then he ends up putting himself in a tough position and takes like a tough floater or whatever it is. Sometimes his bad games and he misses them. That's when everybody's like, "Oh God, this guy's horrendous." And when he makes them, we think he's amazing. And so it struck me for a second that I wonder if what Luca does is he's always doing that because he has the ability to use a fake all the way up until the release of his shot. He fakes all the way up until that point. And so sometimes that looks like he's trying to draw a foul, which technically he probably is trying to draw a foul. But the reality is he's capable of baiting a guy all the way up until that point. Now, not midair with the ball in his hands as often, but certainly as he decelerates and then goes and tries to take the release. So in my mind, I used to keep wondering to myself, I was like, bro, why don't you just take this shot? When you drive to the rim, why don't you just take the shot? Why are you pump faking out of this shot? And I realized he's already programmed himself so much to play the cat and mouse game on getting the guy to jump for the foul and the finish that he'll wait all the way to like the very last second to do it. And sometimes it makes his own life difficult if the guy doesn't bite on it, which I think some of the best defenses in the league have done. They just tell themselves, no matter what he does, don't jump on his shot,
Yeah.
on his drive, because he's going to draw a foul on you. That's one thing. So that's just one observation about his behavioral today. The second observation is this: DeAndre makes his read earlier than Luka makes his decision. So DeAndre makes his decision based on what he thinks Luka is going to do. So the problem is because Luka can wait till the very absolute
Right.
last
Before
moment,
deciding.
DeAndre's already decided what's
Right.
happened, whereas Jackson just waits and waits and waits and waits and
Yeah.
waits. So the
That's a good point.
behavioral issue, it's not a skill mismatch or a technical mismatch between DeAndre and Luca versus Jackson and Luca. It is it's not a technical mismatch between those two. They're both capable. Ayton is capable of catching lobs and finishing the same way Jackson is. The issue is like behavioral. He doesn't read it to the same last moment the same way that Jackson does. That's why the pair works better. So the reason why I said this is going to be a tangent, kind of a tangent, is because two things fascinate me. One, the fact that Luka can play this game of cat and mouse all the way up until that point.
Yeah.
But two, it also means that you have to have guys who basically stay alert all the way through the end of what Luka's potential possession may be when he has the ball in his hands. Like he's not going to, if he doesn't want to make the smart pass early, he might not. He might just wait until he can draw a foul and then make the smart pass. But you have to always be ready, no matter what the situation is, because that's just the kind of passer he is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Aiden definitely can catch lobs. I think Jackson's ability to be a quick twitch
Oh,
jumper
for sure,
gives
for sure.
him,
Yeah.
gives him kind of the advantage here where his, his radius of where he can catch a
Oh,
ball
yeah.
is so much larger. I think Jackson's one of the best lob catchers in the league. Jackson was in the damn dunk contest. I mean, like that's how much of an athletic dunker he is.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do so well. Some of the dunks were a little confusing, but in any case, Jackson is that level of athlete. Ayton just is not that. Whether that's injuries or whatever he was. I saw Ayton's college tapes make the rounds in the timeline lately, which was kind of interesting and funny when you think about that draft at the time. But Ayton definitely came out as an offensive kind of center, and I think that's what he is. I was thinking about this, Vinay. Like the closest I think Luca pairing with Ayton in his past was probably Porzingis, right? Which is
Mm,
another kind of Porzingis could catch lobs, but that's not what Porzingis wanted to
mm,
do. Porzingis wanted to pick and pop,
mm,
be a jump shooter, and I didn't watch Dallas as closely, but I'm guessing that was one of the pairing kind of mismatches there in terms of skill set combinations, right?
mm.
Porzingis is like, "Hey, I'm popping out to the 3," and Luke is like, "I got a contested 2 that I've made a million times in practice. Like, this is the shot that I'm going with."
Yeah.
That's why I think Gafford and Lively were so perfect. Lively was a rookie. It was just like, "I'm playing with Luka Doncic. I'm doing
I'm
whatever
just whatever he
I'm
tells
doing
me to
whatever
do.
he wants
Yeah.
me to do."
Yeah.
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 Luka says, "Jump." I say how high, right? That's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
how Lively and
I mean,
Gafford is
that's
the
what Jackson's basically that. Like, that's
Oh,
exactly what Jackson is.
Jackson says, "What team are you playing for this summer? I got you. I'm in Slovenia with you." You know what I mean? And so Jackson's right on Luca's hip. I think Gafford's the same way in terms of just he's a bruising backup big. This guard's gonna get me paid, and not that it was that cynical, but I'm sure
Yeah.
Gafford is looking at it as a really great situation for him. Aiden's looking at this going, "Hey, I'm trying to get back in the 2030s contracts. Like
Mm,
that's what I'm looking at this." And that's just not, I think, the skill match there. And again, I think Aiden's been better than is the national kind of conversation around him. But it's been interesting to watch those two. Where last year, there was the whole conversation over the summer was, well, we need to get a center better than Jackson Hayes. Like that's got to be number one. And I think we did overall. I think talent wise,
mm.
Eaton is more talented. Jackson winning the closing center spot, I think goes back to the whole conversation of this podcast of fit matters a
Mhm.
ton around, your stars. And Jackson's fit combined with Jackson becoming a better basketball player, I think he gets credit for that.
Mm.
But I think the fit is so much cleaner that you're kind of seeing the fit override the talent. And that's an interesting place I think
Yeah.
you get as a team.
I do think also no team has gone outright and tried to force Jackson to have to be the scorer too. Like we haven't run into that situation yet where a team has basically said
We'll
we're
give you
going to guard.
lobs.
We'll switch. Like Minnesota might do it tomorrow. Minnesota might say we're switching everybody on the perimeter and playing you 1-on-1 so that you don't get any advantages. So if you give it to Jackson, he's going to have to score on Gobert by himself. Like go 1-on-1 against Gobert. Let's see what happens. Like and that might be a time where you need a guy like DeAndre to be the guy that does it. I want to ask you one because we're all right on the hour.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in Detailers Club. I wanted to talk about this idea of running center, like this center platoon, like center by committee approach that we've kind of been doing. Because it's
Mm,
Aiton, Maxi, and Jackson. Like because
yeah.
Maxi's been getting like a short shift too as well. In the second half of games when both of them play. There has been like this. I have this idea in my mind, or this theory in my mind, that being a center for a Luca team and now a Luca and Austin team is a lot more workload than maybe we realize as fans, in the sense that like you have to screen every possession. You have to be
Mm.
the first person back every
And
possession
rescreen. Yeah.
and rescreen. Yeah. You have to be ready to run the rim, catch lobs, rebound. You have to do a lot. Again, center is probably one of the most thankless positions in the NBA, hands down. But I wonder if the smart approach for JJ is to use that center platoon just because the workload of how much you have to do, how much you need out of those guys is so much that like a single guy, like I don't, this is theory. Like you take like Rudy Gobert. I don't think Rudy could be like he'd be phenomenal defensively for the Lakers. But I also don't know if you'd have the physical ability to have Rudy do that for 35 minutes a game because it's a lot. I'm not just screening for Luca. I've got to go screen for Austin. I got to screen for Luca, and I got to run back on defense, and I got to grab every single rebound. And these guys might not help me. And so, like, I think doing the center by platoon is good because it keeps like a high level of energy on the floor at all times from that position.
Yeah, I will say Rudy's getting paid $50 million a year
That's
or
true.
whatever he's getting. Like he's rewarded a little bit more for what he's doing,
Yeah.
which is why I think maybe not 36 or 37 minutes a game, but I think he could do because he doesn't have. He's similar to Jackson, where they don't run any
They
plays,
run nothing for him. Yeah.
nothing for him to catch the ball. They even, if you watch Minnesota Rudy does not get the ball no matter who the inside matchup
Yeah.
is. And that's partly on him. He's not a really great free throw shooter, bobbles the ball. He
Yeah,
looks like
for
he's
sure.
never practiced a hook shot. Like, just everything of there is just not an offensive type player. And that's fine. He's one of the best defensive players ever. That didn't feel good coming out of my mouth, but that's the truth of
It is true.
accolades that he's acquired. But yeah, I'm with you. I think JJ is gonna go to this 3-man platoon. I'm not sure how much max he can hold up. Like, every other game, it's
Mm,
something from him. He's been questionable. He did play, the other night, but I'm just not sure how you can rely on that in a playoff setting where physicality goes even higher, right?
mm.
And Maxi's a guy, which I respect about this, Vinay. Maxi's not a guy that goes out there and half asses
No, no,
what he does.
he plays.
Yeah, he puts his face in everything. He gets elbowed. He mixes it up. He's not holding his minutes in any way. So I'm concerned how consistent that is. We've gone to some LeBron at center too, Vando at center, or LeBron Vando at center. I think JJ's kind of playing with stuff. I think that will be matchup based. Vando's collecting DMPs here and there in certain matchups, but I think that's where he's going to. Jackson, I think his limit is probably 28 minutes. I would say is kind of the bar
Mhm.
for him. Aiton probably is going to live in that 20-25 minute range, and we'll see what Maxi gets. But I think that's what you're getting. The rescreen stuff, I'm sure, is annoying. But again, I think if you feed them a few times,
Goes a long way.
goes a long way. Like, I think Aiden, he gets a few baskets early. People think it like, oh, in a perfect world, he would just do his job. Like, every person in any business wants to feel rewarded,
Mhm.
feel like what they're doing is having an impact of what's going on. So I think just doing some of those things, like they hunt. Jackson's gonna get thrown lobs, like that is,
Yeah.
and he does not have to be concerned about that. Aiden might not see a mid-range shot for a game. That's a tough place
Yeah.
to be, even for a guy who's whatever the money is, whatever you think it should be, however bad you think he's played. I think that's a tough place to be. So I think that's just low hanging fruit the Lakers can get. And then you get all the other stuff. I think he's a really good rebounder when locked in. He's our best offensive rebounder. Him and Luca, I think, do have spots they can improve on. Austin and him have found a nice relationship as a ball screen pairing. But
Mhm. I think ESPN shared the stat of like the most lobs thrown between a duo was like Luca and Aiton or something like that. So I was just like, you guys are the ones who wrote that article, and like people are all trashing him. I was just like, this guy's already, he's quite literally the best lob partner for Luca right now. It just doesn't look good. Obviously, there's other issues also with Aiton too as well, with his finishing and whatnot. But Roger, I want to throw one stat at you. I know we're not crazy about the analytics all the time, but there is a fun stat I wanted to share with you. Luke Kennard, in over
yeah,
300 minutes that he's played for the Lakers, in the half court set, the Lakers are a plus 14 points per possession when he is on the floor. He has been a monster for our half court offense, knocking down shots, coming off of attacking closeouts, coming off of screens, taking that mid range shot. Has had a couple nice finishes too as well, something that I didn't think he would do as much, but he's certainly gone all the way to the rim and do it. He has been a boon to the Lakers with his shooting. Knock on wood that it continues being that way. But when the Lakers get into these slogs where it's a rock fight and it's half court offense, they need to play Luke Kennard to help relieve some pressure. The play that comes to mind to me from last game was the Knicks doubling Luca and Luca rifling a pass to the right corner to Luke Kennard off the double team that was in the left wing. So basically the two farthest points on the court, and Luke Kennard knocking down a wide open three against the Knicks. So that's the kind of stuff we want to see. See him shoot. Any like quick thoughts on Luke? I know you've been getting some great answers from him in the post game pressers.
yeah, yeah. He's been he's been really fun to watch. I don't remember the last time a shooter came to the Lakers and kind of wrote, cashed the check of being a shooter in terms
Yeah.
of hitting shots when he's open. One of the first guys in a while. When he shoots, I think it's going in, and it doesn't matter where it's from. that mid-range shot is a layup for him. And I'm also one of the ones kind of leading the train of, hey, you can shoot a little bit more.
Yeah.
That swing pass to Smart or Vando, like if there's a half closeout on you and a no closeout on the shooter on the guy next to you, like you
Just
shoot the
yeah.
ball, my guy.
Go ahead and shoot it, buddy.
That's yeah, go ahead and shoot it. Like you're making every other shot. Like you gotta shoot those. But he's a much better playmaker than people, I think
Yeah.
I've been credit for. A much better ball handler, can finish at the rim, and those things that we talked all pod about being able to kind of instantly read what the next kind of action is or what the right play is. He's already fit in like a glove within that in terms of Luca waits. You talked about Luca waits to the last second, and Luca Kennard is ready
Always
until
ready.
the last second. Like, and not just to shoot. Like if Luca gets it to him with 5 on the clock, he'll pump fake, drive, and hit a lob pass,
Yeah.
or like he'll like make quick read decisions
Yeah.
in ways that other shooters in the past, like Malik Beasley is kind of the name that you went and got, but Kennard is just in a different tier of ball handler than him. And he's talked about it in terms of, I'm a basketball player first and foremost. So if
Yeah.
it's a pass home and I'm gonna make it, I can run a little bit of a pick and roll. I can run off screens. He's just been awesome to watch. And you mentioned like he's given awesome answers. And I think he appreciates not being called a shooter in a strange way. Like he actually likes,
I'm more than just.
more than
Yeah.
just a shooter, which I
Yeah.
understand from his perspective.
No, for sure.
But
Yeah.
he's been
No.
he's been fun to watch.
He's certainly been much more than even I thought that I thought we'd get a knockdown shooter, but we've been able to use him in so much more. He's been very, very capable. I do think every time he does make a shot, the secretly JJ Redick sheds a tear a little bit because he thinks of himself coming from Duke and being that off ball guy,
Yeah.
that 2-time National Player of the Year that he was at Duke. So I'm sure he's proud about seeing that sort of situation. Luke has been great. Raj, we have a game against Minnesota.
Yes.
It's going to be yet another test. Granted, we have beat them 2 times already. It is hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. That team doesn't forget the fact that they've already lost to you twice. They do come with a little extra energy, but it'll be a big game to see sort of where we're at. Is this a team that knocked us out in the playoffs previously? Are we again serious about playing against this team? Can we take them seriously? Can we do the things that we need to do? Any last thoughts that we have going into that game, or just for the pod?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some love to Marcus Smart. I feel like he was 1 for 10, Vinay, against
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the Knicks,
Yeah, it was
and
the
but
Knicks.
was
Yeah,
a plus 27. Like I
yeah,
think that kind of showed what we talked about all pod of like what do you need versus what it looks like you
mm-hmm.
need. And Smart obviously didn't make really a shot, but rebounds, fights, high motor,
Mm-hmm.
chases, all that stuff that I think fit around those guys. The shooting again is what it is. You can harp on it, and it is. I think he's going to close a lot of games. So we're kind of at the mercy of Marcus Smart open threes, which doesn't make me feel great. But if he was a knockdown shooter, he would not be a Laker. So like this is kind of the calculus of getting Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a winner. He's been a bajillion big games, and Vinay, I think that shows up in crunch time. Like
Yes.
he's not scared of the moment. I'd rather have that than the other side of it, where a guy that's passing up shots,
Yeah,
kind of the
I agree.
moment is too big for him. Smart isn't that way now. Sometimes it's Marcus Smart time when the clock doesn't really show that, but he's been fun to cover, man, and he's another guy that like there's these guys that have a reputation of I don't know being tough or
Yeah,
whatever, and he's been amazing with the media. Like gives you awesome answers, never short with anybody, in depth type
yeah,
stuff, and I appreciate that. So I've loved the Marcus Smart experience. Again, it's been a roller coaster sometimes, but I think he's what this team needed. So it's been fun
yeah.
to watch him.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I know you work hard to offer good questions so you can get great answers. Especially so I know Laker fans, Detailers Club, and Laker fans that follow you definitely appreciate you for sure for doing that. Well, folks, we're right at the hour 15 mark that we usually aim for. This has been a lot of fun catching up on all the games that we talked about. We talked about what we think is happening with Austin Reaves. We talked about this starting lineup thing that people keep battling about. We talked a little bit about Luke Kennard, a little bit about Luca, and then hit on different topics. So hopefully everybody enjoyed If you weren't able to listen to this in real time from when we started, you can head over to YouTube and replay it back if you'd like to watch it on video. I'll get this up on Apple and Spotify so you can listen to an audio version of this too as well if you'd like. But as always, folks, whether you're listening to this now or you're listening to this later, we hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.